Hey everyone, how's it going? I had a question that came to me actually yesterday about how you would go about. I didn't understand the question at first because the person asked, how would I make the particle rotate in the direction that it's moving? And I imagined something a little bit different at first, but then they came back at me. I asked, can you draw it for me? And they came back at me with a drawing, and then it made a little bit more sense to me. So I'm going to show you how I would approach this. I could think of at least three different ways you could approach something like this. Um, the way that I'm going to show you today is the simplest way. You could also create geometry in a curve and then have a scrolling UV along the geometry. You could also create curves inside of your 3D editor and then animate a transform along that curve and then attach something to it. So there's a number of different ways to achieve this, but I'm going to show you kind of the easiest way that I could think of to solve this question. So to start with, I'm not going to bore you with creating this again, but I created a sprite or a little image inside of GIMP. All I did is I drew like a circle and then I just kind of blurred out or just made the tail kind of come out on one side. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this and I'm going to map it to a particle system trail renderer and you'll see what it looks like. So that's all I'm starting with. And then I also added this to a mobile particles additive shader, and I've just dropped that in. So that's what it looks like. And I'm just going to turn on a couple of things here. I'm going to turn on my cursor. Just give me a sec here. Let's turn on that one and that one. All right, so you can maybe see my cursor a little bit easier. So first things, I'm just going to drop in where are we at here? Effect, particle system. That's the default particle system. I'm going to reset the location and then hit F to focus on it. And I think in the drawing actually it was kind of coming out the side, so I'll just leave that. You set the emission amount here. I'm going to drop that down a bit just so we can see a few of them at a time. There we go. And the shape, maybe make that angle a little bit less. And the radius, drop that down a tiny bit as well. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to actually add a trail. So we're going to add a trail here. And you'll see by default, the default trail doesn't have a material assigned to it. So I'm going to look in my renderer settings and I'm going to drag my sprite material that I created into my trail. And now you'll see that that's drawing in the trail renderer. I'm not really interested in drawing the particle, just the trail. So what I'll do here is I'll turn this to none. You'll see that go pink. And what I can do to get rid of that is just in renderer mode, I'll set the particle to none. And now you just kind of have these trails coming out. And to give them a bit of rotation, I'm going to go to my noise. So this will be completely random. And then you can, of course, set your noise. I might set it to have a bit of a scrolling speed, just a slow one. Frequency, you could adjust that, you know, and then of course the strength, you can set how much strength you'd like to have that on that as well. Now you can see what's happening here is these are getting quite long. This really depends on what kind of effect you're looking for. Um, we can go to shaded wireframe, and this shows you the geometry that's being created. I'm going to shorten them up a bit. So I'm going to go to my trails, and I'm going to set the lifetime to something maybe like 0.5. Um, maybe even less than that. There's 0.1. And you can see when these rotate that they're actually the direction's actually changing. Um, um, this little shape here that's being drawn, this is being drawn because I have the shape node open. If I open and close this, it turns that on and off. So that's just a little interesting fact there. If I didn't want this stretched, so this is stretching right now, if I didn't want it stretched, I can come here to my trails, and in the texture mode, I can go from stretch to tile, and now that's no longer stretched, but it's tiling. And if I want to only draw it once, I can go to my sprite, and I can, let's see here, I can turn off wrap mode. I can turn that on clamp, hit apply. And now it does look like it's kind of squished a bit. I don't know if you can see that, but I think it's because I created this at 512 by 256. I think that's the issue there. So if I wanted to fix that, I might have to go back into where I created it. I'm going to go image, canvas size. I'm going to make this 512 by 512. And then hit resize, and I'll go center, and I'll hit size, and then I'll save that. Now, the thing I don't like about this is there's a lot of kind of empty space on either side, which I don't think that looks really good. I don't like that there, or it's not good for overdraw. Um, and I don't know if there's a lot of settings inside of here um, to kind of limit that or to adjust your UV. Let's have a look at our trails here. Lifetime. We can set the width of it, but in terms of the actual texture, I think you've just got stretch and tile, and then I don't think you want um, that's distributed over the whole. Again, that's quite similar, I think, to stretch. Not too much difference there. Yeah, I think I just want to, I'll put it on tile for now. Now, the second part of the question is if you wanted to have kind of add an additional effect, I'll turn this to shaded again. If you wanted to kind of have an additional like set of particles coming off of this, I believe that that was kind of the second part of the question. And to do that, what I would do here is create a second particle system. So I'll just kind of step off this one for a minute, and I'm going to call this one like, oh, I don't know what we'll call this. And then I'm going to create another particle system here. And now this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the start speed. I'm going to turn that off. The emission, I'm going to probably turn that to 0 and make it rate over distance. And I'll set this as a random. between, uh, let's set it between like 3 and 6 maybe. So what this is going to do is as I drag this, it's going to emit. And I don't want it to be in local space. I want it to be in world space. So as I drag this, it's just going to drop them in the world. The next thing I want to do is look at well, let's look at the lifetime. Where's my lifetime at here? Duration, no, that's how long that is. Lifetime. So right now it's 5 seconds. I'm going to make it between 0.3 and 0.5. So they're not going to stick around very long. And the shape, I'm going to go for a sphere with a radius of 0 and a radius thickness of 0. So it'll just come from a single point basically. The other thing I want to look at is the size of these. Right now I think they're way too large. So let's make the size we'll make it between 0.05 and 0.1. That should be quite small now. Oh, let's grab it. And yeah, it's just kind of, there's just a few particles kind of coming out. And I'm going to add the noise to this as well. And yeah, do we need, yeah, we'll put a little bit of scroll in there as well. What's that going to do? Maybe we can add a few more here. And we'll give it a little bit of radius here. Let's go 0.1. Is that too much? No, that's all right. And what was I going to change? Oh, the amount. 3. Let's go between 6 and 9. It's kind of interesting. So when we've got that, what we can do now is, I'm just going to give this a name of like trailing particles. And this is going to be something called a sub-emitter. So I'm just going to drag it underneath that one. And what I need to do here is I need to actually connect this to my particle system in this sub-emitter. So I'll turn on sub-emitters, and then it says which one do you want to sub-emit, and it's going to be this trailing particle here. It's going to take a minute to kind of to connect here. So now you'll see that there's kind of like a particle coming out the back of that. And can we inherit, what if we inherit, you can inherit different things. I don't think I want to inherit anything here. Yeah, that's fine. I don't really need to inherit anything. Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of how I think I would go about that. We can make this more interesting by, if I have a look at this, there's like, we could add like a glow and stuff to this, which might make it more interesting with some post-processing. But I'll leave that for another tutorial, I think. I think we'll just keep this one short. And maybe I'll just hit play here. And we'll leave it there. Kind of interesting. So one thing I could do is maybe just on the original sprite here, I'm going to boost up the... Now the thing when you start adding sub-emitters is that it does get quite slow. So let's turn that off for a second, and then let's go to our trails. Let's go to our noise, and maybe I'll boost that up a tiny bit. Now the other thing with noise is you can restrict it to just a couple of different axes. So for example, I could restrict it so it's only working on the Y and the X axes. So let's separate those, and let's just go on the, let's make sure this is in world as well. Simulation space, we'll put that in world. And then we're going to look at the Y and the X. So those I'll set to 2, and then Z I'll turn off. So what that's going to mean is it's not going to push them back. It's only going to push them up and to the side, up and down and to the side, which is, I think, more of what I'm after. Let's also change the start speed. Make that kind of random. So I'll make that random between like maybe 2 and 4. Yeah, that's a bit more interesting. And then emission, we'll make that random as well. So we'll make that between 3 and 6. These are all random numbers. You play with them until you until you get what you're after. Now they're kind of all the noise. Now I might actually increase the frequency again, just so they're all kind of moving a little bit differently. Now another thing too is you notice that it's kind of a little bit jagged. So what you can do there is in your trails, if you look at the geometry, you can add more geometry. You know what? They don't need to be as long to actually draw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually shorten them with my lifetime. So if I go 0.05 now, that's enough to draw them. So that's actually a huge savings in performance. And now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to increase the amount that it draws, like so that so it's not as, you don't see any kind of breaking or anything with it. So to do that, the distance that, this is like how small it can be. So if I set this to 0.1, it'll give it twice the geometry. And it won't look as kind of as broken. So yeah, that's one way we can solve this problem. Let's see what it looks like now when I turn my, let's go back to shaded, and I'm going to turn on my sub-emitter. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to go main camera, game object, align with view, and I'm going to set the skybox to solid color, and I'll just pick this color. Now it's matching. Now if I hit play, there's my game view, and I'll maybe maximize this, and free aspect, scale is 1. Well, there we go. All right, thanks for watching. And again, if you have any questions on how you do something, I could show you the alternate methods if this didn't work for you. but hopefully that will kind of give you an idea for starting anyways. So we'll leave it there. Thank you.